Hi there, I'm Jules, and today we're going to be talking about shocking truth number 6, no bad foods. So, today I'm going to share with you why I strongly believe that there are no bad foods, and I will share the one exception, and then also like why thinking of food in terms of good foods and bad foods, why it's not helpful, and why it can actually be preventing you from losing weight. And so we're going to really bust this myth that there is such a thing as bad foods. And I'm going to look at what we can do instead. So, share with you ideas about what we can do instead of seeing food as good and bad. And then at the very end, I'm going to share with you an invitation. So, for those of you who haven't seen my other videos in the series, so there's 6 shocking truths that I've been sharing this week around that really ideas that really block us from losing weight and having a healthy relationship with food and finding this sweet spot of enjoying food and feeling good in our clothes. And so there's 6 shocking truths that I've said so far. So we've got, first one is that dieting equals weight gain, exercise doesn't work. Next was that eating for pleasure is actually like helpful for feeling satisfied. We want to stop trying to eat less. And then it's the idea that the myth around counting calories. That sugar addiction is a myth was the last one I did. And then today we're talking about this idea that there are actually no bad foods. And when we start to see food, stop seeing food as good and bad, it actually helps us create a really healthy, balanced relationship with food. And counterintuitively, when we have that healthy, balanced relationship with food and we're eating in a way that feels good to us, we actually like our waistlines get to be in a good place as well. So for those of you that don't know me, a little bit about my background. So my name's Jules. I live in Australia, and I've always been a huge food lover, and I studied food science at university, which included some nutrition. And I worked for many years in the food industry, creating a lot of snacks and things. And for the last 12 years, I've been a cooking coach, and also, actually, no, it's 14 years, a cooking coach. So I have an online cooking school that I started in 2010. And then more recently, in the last 3 or 4 years, I've moved into being a health coach and helping people create a healthy relationship with food and find this sweet spot where, because this is something I've done for myself, rather than it being weight being a struggle and something that you're fighting, actually making peace with food and including like prioritizing food in your life and creating a healthy relationship with food. And then also by doing that actually helps you with your weight and helps you manage your weight and get to this place where you're actually feeling good in your clothes and you're enjoying food. And I know for those of you that I'm using my work, that might sound really crazy and like completely impossible, but I've done this for myself and I've helped hundreds of people do it as well. So that's me. That's my story. But today we're talking about why my strong belief that there's no such thing as bad food. So let's look at why. So the first thing is that all food has value. And the thing is that when we're like, if you're listening to like, diet culture messages, it's all around, oh, avoid this list of foods and then you'll be like, your weight will be fine. And if it really was that we were just eating the wrong types of food and there was like this right list and wrong list and we just stuck to the right list, our weight would magically be amazing. Like if that was really true, like don't you think that would have worked by now? and so the thing is that when we're seeing food as good, like when you have that dichotomy of food is either good or bad, that's looking at it from just the nutrition perspective, but there are actually a whole other host of reasons why food has value. So there's like the celebration side of things, there's the nostalgia side of things. If you think of something that your mom or your grandma used to make for you, like eating that like brings you, connects you with them. There's the connection thing of like that human desire to break bread with people, to share food with people. That's part of our cultural, our DNA. It's like how we're wired. And so when we start seeing food as good and bad, and labeling it in that way, we're missing out, and it misses the point on all those other reasons that there are to eat that have nothing to do with nutrition and fueling our bodies. And it's such a shame when we do that, like we miss out on that opportunity to experience like all those things, the connection, the nostalgia, like the joy of and the celebration of sharing things. So that's the first reason. Second reason is that when we like see food as healthy and not healthy, good and bad, it's called like moralizing food. And what happens is then we tend to attribute those that good and badness to ourselves. So when we eat the healthy foods, the good foods, then we're being good. And when we eat the bad foods, we're eating chocolate cake, then we're bad. And so it just sets us up with this dichotomy of having this this unhelpful relationship with food, and also an unhelpful relationship with ourselves as well, because we're judging ourselves when we eat the bad foods, and we're like rewarding ourselves when we eat the good foods, but that's not really a helpful thing either. Then the third reason why I really think that it's important not to have bad food, like consider food as bad, is because when you demonize something, and you say that I can't have something, or you tell yourself like it's off limits, then like there's just it's part of human nature is that, of course, when we start to see things as off limits, that builds the desire. It's like we want it more. So if like because we want the things that we can't have. Like this is just part of it being a human. So when we have this list of bad foods, it's like it subconsciously makes us desire those foods more than if we would have if we had free access to them. And like you would have experienced this yourself if you've like ever done like quit sugar and you're not eating sugar, and then all of a sudden you're thinking about sugar all the time because, oh no, I can't have sugar, I can't have sugar. So or I can't have chocolate, or I can't have fried food, whatever it is. Like like you would have experienced this for yourself. Like that that's so true. So yeah, we like having this list of bad foods. It shoots us in the foot. Like it's really counterproductive, because then it makes us desire those foods more, and then when we eat them we feel really bad, and it's just like that cycle of shame and guilt, and just like, and having like that makes our relationship with food so like not fun. The opposite of fun. So that's a lot of the reasons. And the other is that when we see things like as good and bad, and it's like all about it, about whether something's on the good list or the bad list, it actually doesn't take into consideration one of the most important parts of food, in that it doesn't take into consideration the quantity piece. Because the thing is, like, just do a thought experiment with me. Like, think about it. If you have like one bowl of ice cream or one scoop of ice cream and an ice cream cone once or twice a week, like, would that be a problem for your weight, compared to if you're sitting down and you're like just chowing through a tub a day? Like, of course, like the quantity that you have makes a huge difference to the like to whether that food is problematic for you or not. And the thing is, the people that have a healthy relationship with food, that have a have don't have this list of bad foods and good foods, they let themselves have ice cream when they want to have ice cream. They let themselves have cookies when they want to have cookies. And when they don't have these foods that are off limits, then they're able to like, and I can do this. I can't believe I can do this, but yeah, like I can have a small bowl of ice cream. I can have a scoop of ice cream, and that's actually really satisfying. And then I can move on with my day. Like I'm not obsessing about ice cream. And when I am having ice cream, I'm not in this going into this like what the hell mode of like, oh well, I've already ruined it for the day, so I might as well I've had this slice of pie. Pie's bad, therefore I'm bad. So I feel bad, so I might as well just keep eating the rest of the pie, because then after this is gone, I'll never have pie again. like it really just sets us up with this messed up mindset and messed up relationship with food. So that's like the final round. I think one of the most important reasons, apart from that, it like having bad foods builds our desire, is that it removes that. It makes us forget that actually having a little bit of these foods, having a little bit of chocolate every day isn't a problem. Having whole bars of chocolate every day, problem. Having like a few handful of chips or a few chips, like not a problem. But having the big bag, or having a supersized serve of fries, problem. So I and the thing is, like, I know for myself to be like this to be true, and it's definitely for my clients as well, is that once we like get the quantity piece right, we can eat all the different types of food, because it really doesn't matter that much what we're eating, it's how much we're eating at the end of the day that determines whether we gain weight or lose weight at the end of the day. So it doesn't matter whether that's coming from, highly processed cookies or whether it's coming from broccoli. Like if you eat too much, then you are going to gain weight. And yeah, of course, it's easier to eat cookies than it is to overeat cookies than it is to eat broccoli. That doesn't mean that cookies are bad and that we should never have them, because that that makes us want the cookies more, and it makes it harder for us to eat a reasonable amount of them. And just it's miserable. Life without cookies would be really sad. So that's another thing. And like this is true for like this is so true, like in my experience of food in my life, like uh that I had years of like not eating sugar, and now I have ice cream, like, and but it's like I don't need to have ice cream every day, like once a week is fine. Like, and when I have it I really enjoy it, like, and I'm making it myself, it's homemade, it's like the best. And I have I'm intentional with my serving sizes, but then I get to like have this best of both worlds where I'm having ice cream in my life and also feeling really good in my body. So it's so fun. And this is like it works for me, but it's also worked for so many of my clients. And I had this client once, I worked with Melanie, and she was like a massive chip monster, like potato chips, like crisps. And she was like, used to think I could never trust myself around chips. And then we did some work for her to like undo that and change her relationship with chips and actually start to give herself permission to have chips in her life. And then not long after, like, a couple of months later, she posted in our group, and she was like, look at this. It's like, and she actually had a packet of chips that had been in her pantry that had gone past the expiration date. And she was like, this is so mad because she's like, she had had chips in that time, but she'd got to this place where, because she was giving herself permission and she wasn't seeing chips as bad and off limits anymore, she could find this balance where she could have chips occasionally, have a reasonable amount, and then also have them in her pantry and not have them talking to her the whole time, like, and actually forget about them so that they went past their expiry date. So it worked. Like it really does work. And the place to start with this is just when you notice yourself thinking of food in terms of good or bad, just coach yourself in that moment and go, hang on, this isn't really helpful. This food isn't bad. It's just, I need to be mindful of some foods. You need to be more intentional with the quantities than others. And that when you start to unwind that and start to give yourself permission to enjoy food in that way, like really that's the beginning of creating that healthy relationship with food. So I did say at the beginning that there was going to be there's one exception to the no bad food rule. So the only exception is, like, if there's a food that you hate that you really don't like to eat, you're welcome to call that bad food. So for me, that's tripe, and I've tried tripe in lots of fancy restaurants, and I still find it disgusting. So yeah, for me, tripe is on my bad food list because I hate it. And but for you, it might be Brussels sprouts, whatever it is, doesn't matter. But you're allowed to, if you don't like a food, then no matter how like healthy it is, it's not going to be good for you. Like, so just, you're allowed to think of that as bad. But everything else, if you enjoy a food, there's value in that food, and that means therefore it's not bad. And you starting to see it as, actually, yeah, like chocolate it brings me pleasure, and that's actually something that I want to include in my life. Like that is an option for you. So that's my thoughts around good food, bad food. And actually, the other story that I think is that really helped me understand this concept about how it's actually not what we're eating, it's how much we're eating, that really hit this home for me. Is, so you probably years ago heard about the documentary Super Size Me, where Morgan Fellock went and ate every meal at McDonald's for a month, and every time they asked him to supersize, he had to say yes, and he upsized his quantity. So he was eating way more food than his body needed, and by the end of it, he was like feeling really sick, and he gained weight, and he was like a mess. There was actually a follow-up documentary done in the US by a university, and that was called Portion Size Me. So same premise, like had two students that were eating every meal for 30 days in fast food restaurants. They mixed it up. They didn't just do McDonald's, but it had to be fast food. And the big difference was, rather than doing the Super Size Me thing, they were allowed to, they were what was called portion size me. So they were eating the appropriate portion for their body size. And so one was like a big, tall, like basketball player, and then the other was like like, quite petite girl. And so they ate the appropriate portions for their body size. And by the end of their 30 days of eating bad food, like eating fast food for every meal, but the appropriate quantity, neither of them had gained weight. And they also tested their blood, like some of their, I think there might have been their blood pressure. One of them had slightly improved, but like they didn't have any negative health, like their cholesterol and all the negative health markers that they were tracking didn't have any negative consequences when they ate the appropriate size. So I want you to think about that actually, eating fast food isn't a problem. It's eating too much that's the problem. And so fast food is not bad. There really is no bad food. It's just having too much food that is the problem. And actually, when you stop seeing food as good and bad, you have so much to gain by doing that. So this is sounding good, and you're like, oh, Jules, I would love to not have good foods and bad foods, and I would love to be able to include chips and ice cream and chocolate in my life, and also feel good in my clothes, like for it not to be a problem with my weight. Then I'd love you to come and join me in my in the Naturally Healthy Club. So it's my 6-month group coaching program where I walk you through step by baby step to create your simple, doable process to create a healthy relationship with food and feel really good in your body and in your clothes. So it helps you become in control of food, feel like you're in control of food rather than feel like food's controlling you. So if you'd like to join us, I actually have applications open for that at the moment, and we're starting next week. So the week after, first week of March, we're starting. So if that's sounding good for you, definitely come and check out the invitation page. So it's on my blog, which is thestonesoup.com. So if you just Google Stone Soup, you'll find it, and click on the Naturally Healthy Club tab, and that has all the details there about all the ins and outs and how you can apply it. But after 6 months in the Naturally Healthy Club, you'll be able to develop a sustainable, healthy relationship with food once and for all. You'll be able to feel in control of what you eat without restricting or missing out or feeling deprived. You'll be able to break that overeating/guilt cycle so that you can learn to trust yourself around all food, and you'll develop the confidence to be able to lose weight naturally and slowly and sustainably. And finally, you'll feel better in your body and feel better in your clothes as well. So if any of that's sounding good, definitely check out stonesoup.com, thestonesoup.com, and I would love to hear from you. So have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and I will catch you another time. Okay, bye everyone.